virtual reality. So that means you're wearing something over your eyes and you don't see the real world around you. You see a fake world. It's like you're inside a video game, basically.
You have to understand and fully map out the world around you, which is something that VR, like Oculus, don't have to do.
If these end up catching on a little bit, I could see a world where you'd wear something like this in the dental office as you go through treatment as a patient. Welcome to another episode of Dental Rift. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. I am the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want.
I am Tanner Applegate, and I'm the CEO and founder of Unify. We are a software that helps you consolidate all of your different tools in one singular place.
All right, so we got really three cool topics today. Number one is Apple's new product that they're launching that I don't know if Tanner's interested about it or not. I don't know if I'm interested about it or not, but we're going to talk about it. Number two, I had a video recently that did almost 2 million views, and I had to pull it down. And we're going to talk about why that is. It has to do with the dental industry, though. And then number three is we're noticing, or Tanner brought up, that there's a new trend of roll-ups happening inside the dental industry, and it's not what you think it is. So we're going to talk about that at the end there. But let's first talk about Apple's new product. What are your thoughts on their new product, Vision Pro?
Right. So we're going into this with the assumption that everyone's kind of already seen it, right? It is a AR, augmented reality type of device people wear in order to get kind of an expanded view of their life. And I, at first, when I watched it, regardless of the price tag, we always knew Apple was going to come in at the price tag, but that seems to be the biggest sticking point for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I sit there and think
$3,500,
$3,500, right? Yeah. And honestly, though, the product itself, let me go in my reactions of what I thought about Apple releasing it, and then I'll go through my reactions of what I actually think about the product, right? The idea that, I mean, if you look at the history of Apple products that have been launched since really the iPhone, they've all been pretty conservative plays, right? Yes. Headphones aren't revolutionary. Even the iPhone, the iPad, like all these different things aren't revolutionary. But what somebody called out on an analysis I was reading was that Apple, if you notice, has slowly been kind of buying and building tech that is the key for this product. And so they've been planning this for a long time, right? Things like LiDAR, which is spatial dimension recognition, right? Like that kind of technology has been something that they rolled out with their iPhones like 3 or 4 years ago, almost kind of quiet. Like they didn't talk a ton about it, but it influences a lot of different things. Like the AirTag was possible because of that. Yeah. Right. Things like that. And then also, even like Apple Silicon was a huge thing because now they've gotten the expertise and the skill set to build their own internal chips, which you saw they rolled out with their own chip. So I think all in all, I'm ecstatic to see how this goes for Apple, because this is the first thing that Apple has launched that really is not a safe play.
Sorry to disrupt the show, but I got something crazy to share with you. We are attempting to connect with all of our listeners. We have thousands of people that listen to this podcast, and we want to meet you in person. We have 4 events coming up, and I want to give you a discount code that you can use for the next week to save $300 off your ticket. The discount code is Gary Bird, and the link is going to be just down below. You can also go to smcnational.com/events. I hope to connect with you in person and help each other grow our businesses. Can't wait to see you soon. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's break down what VR versus AR is. So this is AR, not VR. So VR, like what Facebook is trying to launch, is virtual reality. So that means you're wearing something over your eyes and you don't see the real world around you. You see a fake world. It's like you're inside a video game, basically. And you can manipulate that world and things like that, but that's virtual reality. AR, augmented reality, is they look like snowboard goggles is what they look like, or ski goggles, you know? And so they look like ski goggles and you can see through them like glasses, but it overlays a skin over the world. It's like Pokemon Go, where people would hold up their phone and they could see Pokemon in the real world through their camera, but it was artificially placed there just on their phone. And so they're coming out with these goggles saying, hey, you can sit courtside at the basketball game now, or you can have a full computer screen set up wherever you're at and have 4 or 5 screens going and have a fake keyboard there. And it all ties together, and you can still see what's going on in the world around you.
And I think that if you look at it too, the technical difficulties of VR is way lower to accomplish than the technical difficulties of AR. because now
Mm.
not only do you have to do things that are for your eyes, but you have to understand and fully map out the world around you, which is something that like VR type things like Oculus don't have to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Because Google tried to come out with glasses like this. So the thing that's interesting about this, now that I'm thinking about it, the way they made these goggles, it makes me feel like these are meant to be worn at home. These are not things to be like worn on the street. Would you say that's accurate?
I mean, I don't even feel safe wearing my Apple AirPod Pros out in the street just because of the price tag and like how much they call attention. So yeah, I agree that it is personal, but you can guarantee if I get one of these, I will be using it on a plane because I do not want to be in a plane. Right? I want to be
Mm,
somewhere else. And the
yeah.
plane is one of those situations where all social cues go out the window. I mean, you see people out there doing
Taking
some
off their
crazy stuff
shoes.
on the plane.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
uh,
so because the reason I asked this is because the one that Google tried to launch were like regular glasses, and so you could wear them anywhere. And what was really cool about those is like, if you bump into somebody that's in your contacts, it'll recognize them and go, "Oh yeah, that's Tanner," and it'll pull up all your information on my screen. You can't see that I see this, but I see your name, I see your family, I see your email, where you work, all those kind of things. So with this design that they have, the way that it looks like a snowboard goggles and the really big band, and I'm just scrolling through the website right now, it doesn't look like something that they would eventually launch. Now, the other thing that would be cool, how do we apply this to dental? So if these end up catching on a little bit, I could see a world where you'd wear something like this in the dental office as you go through treatment as a patient.
yeah, I mean, I think that's smart because especially for those that have anxiety and fear, right? Like if you can map out like eliminate all noise and eliminate all the visual cues of it, I think that's a brilliant use case. But I don't know if, because you still won't be able to eliminate pressure, right? So I think it
Yeah.
would be anxiety inducing. I mean, but just as much as like going in and using anesthesia or whatever would get you kind of a little bit loopy, like I think it'd be just as effective as that.
Yeah. That's interesting. All right, let's talk about. We're going to talk
Where
about
I
the roll
think
up.
though it could be beneficial though. You never actually said yes or no. Are you in or are you not? But one of the things that I think it could be beneficial is that as it's gotten precise enough for it to use like fingers as your controllers, I think you could actually start seeing a world of like surgery, right? Where you
Mm,
got robots going in and doing the work, but somebody's just sitting there like virtually
guiding it.
out in the middle of nowhere doing it, right? So
Yeah, you
now
have a
if you have
doctor.
access to care issues, you can send out these robots to do it and the person doesn't actually go and physically be there.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on it. I'd have to see somebody using it and like, but if it works, like if I could sit here and work in anywhere and have my setup that I have right now, multiple screens, standing the way that I like, and I could kind of bring that and do it anywhere, then that's just the price of a laptop, basically, right? And that would be pretty cool.
Here are the things that I like about it. Okay, here's why I would use it. Right, maybe not justifying the 3,500 price tag, but if I were to buy it, here's what I would use it for. I absolutely love movies. Right, I went to the movies last night by myself because nobody else would go and see Spider-Man by myself, but I wanted to see that movie. Right, so I am a huge movie fanatic, and the idea of being immersed in a movie is exciting and fascinating to me, especially if we get to a point where you can be inside the movie enough to be able to have different perceptions or perspectives just based off where you're looking, right? If I can
Mm,
turn all the way around and have like a view of what's going on in that movie scene, like that would be incredible. Like if you could imagine like Avengers Endgame, like being in the middle of like that huge fight at the end and just being able to look at different fights that are going on would be fascinating.
is that the
Right. So
main
that's
thing?
one. What?
Is that the main reason you'd get it?
That's one reason I would enjoy it. The other reason too is that right now I find myself limited by my screen space of my monitors. And so if I could open that up and have unlimited screen space, like that would be
Yeah.
interesting to me, especially for certain like processes that I
Agreed.
do.
Like if I had a fake whiteboard that I could just write notes on,
Hmm.
because I'm all over the place when I work. I got multiple screens, multiple cameras, keyboards. I have a note over here, notes over here, Slack. If I could organize that in a nice way and have a whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard that and take it anywhere at any time that and have access to it as long as I have internet access, that would be amazing. Like that would, again, it's the price of a laptop, no problem. Like that would
Right.
be done for. So okay, cool. Well, I can't wait for you to get it and tell me if I should get it. So we're going to talk about the video that I had. So I had a video. It did well over 1 million views on Facebook. It got about 600,000 views, 700,000 views on TikTok, and then a bunch of views on a bunch of different platforms. And I ended up pulling it down. And the reason that well, first let me explain what happened. So we actually talked about this on the previous episode. So I'm just out here trying to make content, right? So I just do stuff that I find interesting. Sometimes it's about coffee. Sometimes it's about other things. And I did a video. I wanted to do a video on the difference of customer service based on a 5-star versus a 1-star dental office, because I was sincerely curious of what that was like. And I thought maybe other people would be too. So I went in, I did the video, and I went to the 5-star, I went to the 1-star dentist. The 5-star dentist, when I went in, said I needed to do a bunch of work. They said I need to pull out all my fillings and replace them all. And I'm just like, okay, thanks. And I go to the next place and they're like, nope, you're good. You don't need any work done. And I go to my dentist regularly and they're like, no, you don't need to get any work done. And so I made the video and I was like, hey, did I get scammed? And I started talking through like, hey, here's what happened. Da, 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 da. Well, number one, I didn't know the video was going to do as well as it did. But it did. And all the comments were people like, this happened to me. I went to the dentist and they told me I needed a bunch of work I didn't need done. I went to the next dentist and I haven't had problems since, and it's been years, blah, 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 blah. Now, you know, and I know, playing devil's advocate, Tanner, why that happens. Some doctors are more aggressive with their treatment planning and they're thinking, oh, I don't want this person to get a pain in the middle of the day, so I'm just going to replace all that work because it could fail at any time. While other dentists are like, let's wait and see. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing. It really depends on the person, their finances, their overall health. There's so many variables. Just I've learned so much from this podcast with you and I having these conversations with doctors on here. So I kind of got that, but the patients didn't get it. Well, the video got dropped into a doctor's channel. Well, first, let me say, I started going and replying to all the comments. So I was just like, hey, there's as many as I could. Hey, you know what? I get it. This happens sometimes, but there's a lot of great doctors out there. I happen to work with some of them. And so don't think that all dentists are this way. Well, the video gets dropped into a all doctor group and they're like, hey, is this good or bad for the dental industry? And people started, commenting on it and saying, hey, this isn't good. If you're trying to help the dental industry, this isn't helping. So it was actually, Dr. Dunlap.
Cow.
Dr. Yeah, he presented it. He was very articulate with his point, very kind. So some people were mean about it, right? Like, but he was very kind, and he presented a great point. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to pull it down then. And so I deleted it. Now I'm going to shoot a round 2 of that video. Actually, this Friday, I'm going into my dentist. I'm going to have them review the video. I saved it. So I removed it from all the platforms, but I still have the video. I'm going to show it to them. Then I'm going to show them my x-rays and say, like, why did they see treatment that you didn't? And try to get them to explain it in a way and make a video out of that. We'll see how that goes. But I would love your thoughts on that, or any feedback you might have. Because when I told you about it originally, I think you kind of knew that it might go down this road.
Yeah, I think it's fair, the doctor's concern of it, because and I remember looking at some of the comments on it that you're right. A lot of people already kind of have a negative view of dental, right? It's not the most sexy or the most exciting for people to go into the dental office. And so I think a lot of the times for PR of dental, not just because we want to increase, like, obviously, like, the revenue of the dental offices and stuff, but honestly, because of patient care. If patients do not go into the dental office, it is not good for them, right? And so to be able to create this stigma or image of like, hey, dentists are going to rip you off. Like, here's another reason why you shouldn't go to the dental office. I do see it being something that I think it was smart of you to take it down for the benefit of not just dentists, but also for patient care. But I do like the idea and concept around it, right? Like, what is the differences between these 5 and 2 stars? And so to me, in my mind, it's like, okay, what could you do that would be a similar idea, but in a less kind of negative way? Like, so something that I would say, like, what has a naturally kind of positive perception around it, right? And so I don't know, like, you do your coffee reviews right now, but obviously you're comparing a product more so than the service there. But it would be interesting to see, like.
So I actually did one. I said, I'm going, and I stole this from another creator that does these videos. I said, I'm going to leave a 5-star review for a 1-star dentist office, but there's one rule: I can't lie. I have to be truthful. So I actually documented the journey through that 1-star office. and said, you know what, they were really nice. They had an in-house membership plan. They were, but the video didn't do that good. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't negative. The reason that the video did well was because it was negative. So
they wanted to jump on the stigma that they already feel, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I honestly that didn't enter into my head. But like, I'm more scared of the dentist than I'm more scared of physical pain from the dentist than financial downsides and things like that. So I honestly didn't know that I was feeding into the beast per se. But after reading the comments now, I'm like, okay. So I need to figure that out. If you guys are listening out there, if you have an idea, I had some people tell me, Gary, you can come to our office and review our office. But if I just do, here's a dental office tour, like it's not going to do as well. There has to be some kind of underline to that. So interesting. So let's move on to the last topic, because I think this one's really cool. You want to kind of frame it up for us?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of times in dental, obviously you've got your PMSs, and then you've got like a lot of these third-party products. And as time goes on, and as there starts to be more of this like financial incentive because the consolidation of the industry, you're starting to see more and more of these companies that are aggregating dental products, right? You got Dental Intel, which is aggregating, right? They bought Modento, they bought Local Med, so they've got their BI, they've got other things in their systems as well. And then you've got like your Vine, which bought a lot of different systems. You got your Planet DDS, which is buying a lot of different systems, et cetera. And so you're starting to get these like niches of companies that have more than one product. And you almost have to decide like, okay, am I going to be loyal to this specific niche of products, or do I actually still spread out and go what's best, et cetera? And so it was framed up recently that this person who is not involved actively in a dental office, but is involved in the industry, said, I'm curious kind of what is the perception out there? And I thought it was a good question, is what's more important, the quality of the product or the ease of use of the product, right? Ease of use is what's going to happen whenever you get into these ecosystems, and now I can jump between tools, et cetera. But the quality of it may not always be what's best either. So I was curious what your thoughts are. As a consumer, what's more important to you, the quality or outcome that it produces, or the ease of use of getting to that outcome?
That's a really hard question. I think it depends on who's using it and what kind of outcomes you're trying to accomplish. So it's like if you're talking about like a project management tool and all the teams using it and everybody's interacting with it, then ease of use is probably most important.
Interesting.
And because you're going to save a ton of time, and maybe it's not like the perfect thing, but is it easy to interact with? That's my gut tells me that. If it's like a sales product that's helping us create more sales or helping us close more deals or something like that, then I'm going to say quality. And if it's not easy to use, who cares? Because there's an ROI attached to it. A lot of times I think what ends up happening is if you can attach an ROI to things, then it can be more clunky. If it's producing results that's growing something, then it can be more clunky. And a lot of times it has to be more clunky. But where if it's something that is not producing an ROI, but it's a necessary thing that you need, then you want speed and ease of use. That's where my gut takes me, but I haven't really thought through it all the way.
I think that's true. I was sitting there thinking about your guys' tech stack internally, right? I know that you used to be on Salesforce and then you transferred over to HubSpot. And the two products are really kind of an argument for this conversation in general, right? Like Salesforce is all about robustness to get you a great outcome. But HubSpot is more like, okay, we're going to actually make you a really simple product, even though as they've gone on, they've actually added on a lot of robustness as well, right? And so you chose, and I think this is really kind of an underlying principle too, is that sometimes robustness of outcomes actually prevents you from getting to that outcome because not a lot of people go in and actually optimize that product.
Well, so that's why we got away from Salesforce. Is the amazing thing about Salesforce, and just so people understand, these are CRM. So this is probably the equivalent to like a practice management software for vendors. So the CRMs manage everything about the company and has all the information, all the clients, all that kind of stuff. So Salesforce, the thing that's amazing about Salesforce is you can do anything you want with it. You can build anything you want. But the downside to Salesforce is that you can build anything you want with it. And so what ends up happening is you get somebody like me or somebody else in there and they're like, let's build this, let's build this, let's build this, let's build this, let's build this. And then you get this thing that doesn't work. because you built it based on things that you thought you needed, not on what actually works. And you paid a lot of money. It's very expensive to build those things out. It's not cheap. Where HubSpot says, no, this is the platform, this is how it works, and then you can make adjustments to it within it. So much easier to use and much less time and money consumption with HubSpot. Now, that's why bigger organizations like Tesla, PG&E, I think, used to use Salesforce. These companies use Salesforce because they'll just hire a full-time developers and build out whatever they need inside of Salesforce. So that's really what more of the use is for Salesforce on that side.
Right. So I think that if I were to get down to this, ease of use is a priority. But what's interesting too, if we go back to the dental analogy of these consolidated groups, a lot of the times they literally just acquire the product and they don't do anything with it. They don't make it any easier to use. Right. So you still have to have individual
sometimes they make it harder to
each
use.
one. Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder to use. Like it doesn't. I've seen these big companies buy analytic platforms and things like that, and then they say, yeah, we bought it. It integrates. And literally, it doesn't integrate with their own stuff. Like they didn't even make it that far, and which is wild to me. Like, what were you guys thinking? Just
because they're increasing revenue. Just like if you can go in and optimize an office, or you can go in and buy another office, right? You get immediate exposure to new patients, even though you could have done better with what you already had. Now, because I have two, I have exposure already, and it's an increase in revenue. Right. And that's exactly what's happening with these companies and why they are doing these roll-up consolidation.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
This is a good one, man. Thanks for your time.
All right. Talk to you soon.